contribution de plus
deployed specifically to address and meet the critical needs in trade and investment finance of our continent. The alliance is the coming together of African multilateral financial institutions set up by treaty amongst African states, and also set up in response to the inadequacies of the global financial architecture in addressing the unique needs of the continent. The Alliance members aim to collaborate to address Africa's development finance needs, promote the interests of member states, and also advocate for Africa on global finance issues, develop innovative finance tools, support sustainable finance strategies, coordinate debt management negotiations, and also support the African Union Commission, especially in its engagement at the G20 level. The Alliance's formation underscores Africa's commitment to self-reliance and sustainable economic development, leveraging homegrown solutions and resources for the continent's advancement. It is a critical initiative that we believe will be transformative for the continent, ensuring the effective mobilization of our domestic resources as well as international resources towards the continent's trade and economic development. By the formation of the alliance, we demonstrate that we recognize that there is strength in unity. And although we are separate institutions and independent institutions, that collectively we have one purpose: to improve the economic conditions on the continent of Africa and restore the dignity of all Africans. And it's by coming together that $1 invested in the initial force by our member countries can go very far. We are very grateful for the immense support and patronage of the African Union for this initiative. We are also especially grateful for the support of His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo, President of Ghana, and the African Union champion for AU financial institutions, for his strong support. I will allow His Excellency Commissioner Muchanga to say a few words at this point, along with my colleagues and fellow members of the Alliance who are here. We look forward to having an interesting exchange with you as we rely on you to amplify the messages I've just conveyed. We hope that you engage with us as partners and not as aggressors, because we are not here for that. But whoever does aggression will also know that the fate of the people of Africa will withstand any aggression. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a statement from Professor Benedicto Rama, President and Chair of the Board of the Africa Export-Import Bank, and the chairperson, the inaugural chairperson of the Alliance of African Multilateral Financial Institutions. Your Excellency, Commissioner Muchanga, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, the Director of the Ceremony and the Interim Secretary General of the Alliance of African Multilateral Financial Institutions. I'd like to begin by saluting the chairperson of the Alliance and also president and the chairman of the African Export-Import Bank, the chief executive of ATID here, the chief executive of Shelter Afrique, which is now Multilateral Development Institutions. Congratulations for that transformation. And I also like to salute all of you in this audience, and of course, not excluding the members of the media who convey the information from here to the public at large. The African Union recognizes that to develop Africa, we must broaden and deepen collaboration. And in this regard, we have been very receptive of the approaches made by our colleagues, the African financial institutions, to have collaborative arrangements with the African Union. And one of the key outputs is the inauguration of the Alliance of African Multilateral Financial Institutions this year on the margins of the regular session of the Assembly of the African Union Heads of State and Government. And this is just the beginning. And when we look at the alliance, ourselves, South African Union, is see it on a long-term vision. It's a vital lever in the development of the African capital market. And together with institutions like the African Credit Rating Agency, which is about to operate, the African Financial Stability Mechanism, which we are drawing up, the African Central Bank, the African Investment Bank, the African Monetary Fund, and the Pan-African Stock Exchange. All those are building blocks towards an African capital market. The chairman of the alliance talked of the need for enhanced domestic resource mobilization. And if we have got a vibrant African capital market, then we really have a strong base for domestic resource mobilization. And for this alliance really to benefit everybody, including the ordinary Africans, and it really needs to be made strong, collectively and individually. And beyond disbursement of funding, it's also a source of very vital ideas. The chairman of the alliance mentioned of the participation of the African Union as a permanent member of the G20. One of the cardinal issues under discussion there is reform of the global financial architecture. So we'll look to our colleagues to come up with the evidence-based proposals that we should be able to advance in the G20 on how to reform the global financial architecture. Everybody agrees that the institutions of the global financial architecture that exist really were created in an era which is normal. The number of sovereign states around the world has increased, and hence there's need, among others, to ensure that there's a visible presence of executives from the developing world in the multilateral development banks around the world. And just that's one of the few. So our colleagues will be able to come up with a very, very, very focused evidence-based proposals on how to contribute to that. And again, within the issue of global finance is the question of the emerging debt crisis that is affecting our countries. And the alliance members are also affected, and we are going to ensure that they give us proposals to contribute to the process of going into debt restructuring arrangements that really have comparable treatment. There should not be somebody penalized. If losses have to be made, they have to be made on a net basis collectively. If benefits have to be made, they have to be made on a net basis collectively. And when we approached to be the patron of the alliance, we did not hesitate, because we are committed to the development of African Union financial institutions and other financial institutions across Africa. So we see the alliance as our formidable partner in progress. We are going to move together and generate results together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your very consistent and welcome support. Certainly, the alliance will not be there without the African Union, and we look to continue to engage with the African Union in the coming years. So a little bit of housekeeping. For translations, you can follow the Afreximbank Facebook live stream for French, while for English, you will have the Afreximbank TV, which I believe is on YouTube. At this point, I would like to call upon very quickly Mr. Moses, the CEO of the Africa Trade and Investment Development Insurance, for just a quick statement. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. And to my brother Orama, good to see you, Commissioner, and my brother Habib, and welcome everyone. I think I wanted to just also endorse that us from the African Trade Investment Development Insurance are a strong member of this alliance, because we believe in the independence of African solutions for African issues. If you remember what happened during the COVID, we all realized that we were left alone. This is the same thing in the financial sector. Whenever there's a crisis, Africa is left alone. Resources are denied to Africa, and these institutions in AAMFI respond when there is a drought of financial inflows into Africa. This is the role that we want to play, to make sure that we give Africa the umbrella when it's raining, and not when it's not raining. That's the whole point of this association. We are committed to make it work, because we believe in it, and we are happy that the African Union itself is the, you can say, the mother of all these institutions, and is giving us the political backing to make sure that we do stand up to the promise and the wishes of our forefathers who created the African Union. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll also like to invite Mr. Tiano Habib Han of Shelter Africa for just a very brief message also. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. Warm welcome to Ambassador Muchanga and my big brother, Professor Rama, other big brother, Mr. Moses, and the Secretariat of AAMFI. It's a real pleasure to be here today, and history in the making, and I'm very proud to be part of it, representing Shelter Africa Development Bank. So we are here today celebrating Africa Integration Week, month, Africa Integration Year, and this is really the symbol of integration. Having an institution, an alliance as AAMFI that we celebrating today really is very much symbolic, because it really tells us that Africa is changing and Africa has hope and the future. Because at the end of the day, it's about looking at Africa from an integrated approach perspective. All our institutions that are part of the Alliance today, and more to join, are working in different areas, right? And historically been in silos. And today, what we pushing for is to work together, right, for African interests, because it's all about the people. It's about the impact, it's about our families, it's about the growth of Africa, creating jobs, wealth, and development for the continent. So this is why we're here today, together, and Shelter Africa Development Bank is very proud to be part of this movement and alliance, and we're here to also open arms to international communities and international institutions to work together for the same common goal of alleviating poverty and creating wealth and development for our countries. So I think our institutions are very well placed because we are on the continent and we are actually in so many different sectors, so we can come together and represent that entry point for the international community as well to work through us, right, to actually deploy that development objectives that all these institutions have in common. So again, we are also part of international alliances for development. All of our institutions are supporting development globally. But I think it was really critical for us to also come together here to say, look, you know, we need to work together. We need to create that critical mass to drive growth. And this is not only institutions like us that should be doing this. We're talking about African integration. It should also be in the education sector. It should be the schools, should be the youth, should be women, should be across the board. I think that integration needs to be a reality. And with the support of the African Union and the leadership of Ambassador Muchanga here on the panel, we think that we're in a very good position to make this happen. And we'll play our part from an investment perspective as development finance institutions for the continent, but we'll be looking forward to more partnership to do it properly. I see a lot of faces in the room, and we know that we all need to work together to make it happen. So we have to be here again, and looking forward to the development of Africa and alleviating poverty and creating wealth for the people of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we're just going to call upon some of the other representative of our members to just share a few words again to highlight the support, commitment, and engagement of the institutions to the alliance to show that we are a real alliance and not just the people sitting at this high table. In that regard, I would like to call on Ms. Mary Kamari from the Trade and Development Bank Group for awards from TDB. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Professor Orama, Chair of AAMFI, Commissioner of the AU, and members of the AAMFI. Thank you for giving an opportunity for TDB to say something about AAMFI. I would talk about 4 things. One thing we've learned during the global multiple crisis is the strong support of African financial institutions, which is very critical. And we thank the AU for the support of AAMFI. And the other thing I wanted to mention is about the relevance of our institutions. We've demonstrated our relevance to the continent before and during the crisis, which is very critical to our continent, hence the support of the AU as well as our leaders. What does that mean? At the moment of the crisis and during this time, we require strong support from our member states and shareholders. We appreciate the AU for the support of that. We've seen the deliberation of the AU, and we look forward to the support as we also engage our respective shareholders. As you see us here, you've heard from our chair of the AAMFI, Professor Rama. We are different institutions, but very critical to the development of our member states on the continent. And we have demonstrated our relevance by supporting development on the continent. Why AAMFI? This is a great platform, and this is the time we call ourselves to work together. And this great platform is an opportunity for us to work together to make sure that we support sustainable development on our continent. I thank you, Chair, and I thank the members for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary, for your very insightful words, as always. I would like to call on Mr. Banji Faintola of the African Finance Corporation just for a few words. Thank you.
Good. I need to check what time zone I'm in. Good afternoon to everyone. Chairman, Honorable Commissioner, as well as the principals of the various institutions in AAMFI. I'm representing President Samaila Zubeiru, who is the President and CEO of Africa Finance Corporation, and coincidentally also the first Vice Chairman of AAMFI. So that goes without saying that AFC is strongly committed to AAMFI, given the role that we play within the organization. We are so proud to be a founding member, like most of our colleagues here, of the AAMFI. And like Mary said, and I don't want to repeat most of the things that people have said, two things for us stand out. One is the fact that the reason why we exist as Africa Finance Corporation is to help Africa to bridge its infrastructure deficit. And we only need to look around and we'll see it all over the place. And for us to do that, we need partnerships. We need collaboration. I was talking somewhere recently, and it came clear to us that we need 10 AFCs, 10 AfrExims, 10 TDs, 10 of each of us. You know, the chairman talked about 65 billion as the balance sheet size for all of us combined today. The funding gap in Africa that we need is over 170 billion for a year. So that's even bigger than all of us here. So the collaboration becomes extremely important, and I think the journey of 1,000 years starts with the first step. So the first step has started with the alliance that we have here, and we're very proud to be part of that alliance. I think the second part, obviously, is advocacy. Collectively as a group, I think power that we have to influence change in Africa is big. So we are not underestimating that power, and I think that's the second thing that we'll see here. Last but not the least, I think, is the human capital of all these institutions put together. You know, the talents that work in all these institutions can change this continent. And I think the starting point is us realizing that we are one, and together we can solve the problems of the continent. An African proverb says, you know, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to go together. So that's our objective, and that's the reason why we are here. We're fully supportive of AAMFI. I'm very committed to see AAMFI achieve the objectives that we've set to achieve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Banji, for your very strong words of commitment and support. We look forward to continue to work together on this. Very quickly, I would like to call on Mr. Agogovia of Africa Reinsurance Corporation. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and Honorable Commissioner, other members of the ITEBO. I think the Secretariat just told me now that I should come out here to register my presence. I believe everybody can see me. Okay, I speak for Africa Re. The mandate of Africa Re is to support African economic development. And if you look around, most of the institutions that have been mentioned have common agenda. So I will just be speaking on only one item, and that is the purpose for which AAMFI has been set up. Commonly, to support the African economic development. I think Mr. Chairman alluded to that there is unity in strength. Yesterday, I was talking with one of the ministers, finance ministers, and he was telling me what he wanted to do, or his plan for his country, to get all citizens in the diaspora to come over with their dollars to help the economy. He has a good plan, but the impact, I believe, will be more felt if this is extended across the continent. Together, we can do more. For that reason, Africa Re is solidly behind this project, which I think is the beginning of better things for the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I must note that Dr. Cornel Karikezi, the MD/CEO of Africa Re, is the second vice chairperson of the AAMFI. Allow me at this point to call on Ms. Miriam Magala from ZEPRI, PTA Reinsurance, to say a few words. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Just to confirm that you can all see me. I'm not as tall as Ken. Can everybody see me? So good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, the principals present. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And my duty here is to confirm that we are not a people's movement. So I wish to confirm that we are not a people's movement. I represent the managing director of ZEPRI PTA Reinsurance Company, the last, very flamboyant, yes, this logo here. My name is Miriam Magala. I'm the company secretary of ZEPRI. So we are in strong support of AAMFI. This is definitely, one of the gentlemen said that it's history. It's definitely history in the making. We are one people, we are one continent. We are several institutions with different mandates, but it's important that we come together and support our continent. We are so many people, but it's about time that we speak with one voice and ensure that we can all work together to develop Africa sustainably. Not only Africa, but our people as well. So I do confirm our support, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, again, I'll ask our newest member, Africa Solidarity Fund, represented by Madame Aubiège de Novu, to just share a few words. Thank you.
Solidarity Fund is very proud to be part of AAMFI, because AAMFI is where every multilateral African institution is supposed to be. And we are there to work together with all institutions because we need to fight poverty, we need to facilitate fundraising by SMEs, SMEs, small women enterprises, young enterprises. African Solidarity developed a lot of solutions like guarantee, financial guarantee, to help all these promoters to raise easily funds. And we are together with all institutions to move. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you can see, AAMFI is indeed continental, representing all the different stakeholders active in this sector. And thank you very much, Ovej. But before we get to take a few questions from colleagues from the press here, I would like to also call on a special guest and friend of AAMFI, Mr. Mr. Ibrahima. Representing, of course, the African Risk Capacity, one of our sister agencies. He's clearly not prepared, so please forgive him if he only says 2 sentences. Mr. Ibrahima, over to you. Just a message of solidarity. Thank you.
I knew it was going to happen. And particularly when I put myself in front and be visible, you can imagine having so many friends on the other side that will ask to say a few words. Well, look, first of all, I wanted to give a big round of applause to those that clearly here were spoken. I had the honor and the privilege of traveling with most of them to Mauritania to meet with the new chairperson of the African Union. And I can tell you the commitment and the passion and the dedication of this group in making sure we are part of the solution, not only because of our balance sheet, but because of our commitment to make sure that no one is left behind, so that we can find African solutions to African problems. And this is really an example of that statement of the African Union. I think it was important when we met with the chairman of the African Union to underscore 3 things that are important to all of us, and that is human capital. We have the expertise, we have the know-how, we have the track record to make sure that not only we provide capital, but we also provide human capital to support our development. I think second, if you combine our balance sheet, as you said, we do have the capital that can actually provide the support. So we're not waiting for the rest of the world to come and support us. We're on the forefront and showing leadership. And last but not least, my last point I want to make it to put on the table, the world is about to meet in Baku in about a few months to focus on climate finance. Political leaders have met and have an African voice, but eventually for us to be heard is also important that we scale up climate finance so that Africa can really attract these resources and make sure we can actually deal not only with the negative impact of climate change, but also support the growth economy across the continent. And I have no doubt AAMFI will be at the center of the conversation in Baku, and making sure when resources are available, they're directed to where Africa needs support the most. So I'm not a member yet, but I can tell you all these people on stage not only are friends, but people I've known for decades, and I'm extremely impressed by the dedication and commitment to the continent. And together, let's make sure no one is left behind so that Africa will be on the forefront. Anything that needs to be done and making sure we are part of the solutions. So again, give them a round of applause and congratulate them for what you've done. Thank you. And yes, I came prepared.
Clearly, always prepared. Thank you very much, sir. So for the next few minutes, again, we'll take a few questions from the press. Again, like we said, this is the beginning of a conversation. It's the beginning of an engagement, a beginning of a relationship. So I apologize in advance if we're not able to take all the questions. But we'll certainly take some. But you'll be sure that this is just the first of many more of these engagements that we will have. So if there are pressing questions, please, you can just raise your hand up. All right, the gentleman in the corner, maybe they can help to pass the mic. So question, not comments, please. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Thank you very much. My name is Ibrahim Al Hassan. I'm a journalist with the EIB network here in Accra, Ghana. Just two quick things. One, of course, a combined capital of more than 65 billion. I want to find out whether if any institutional organization or business needs help from this alliance, that institution will have to go through the government in the country. So for instance, can an institution apply to you directly for assistance, be it a business or an individual? Or you have to go through the government in your country? That's one. Two, talked about credit rating that will kick in for the continent. A lot about development. But I want to find out whether on our own as a continent, if we have our own credit rating, that will be helpful, because credit rating agency is supposed to put out facts, figures, that will be bought into by everybody, especially those in the capital market. How guaranteed are we that whatever rating we put out will be bought into by our partners outside the continent?
Professor Orama, will you want to take this question?
Now take it and we'll see how to distribute the others as they come. So thank you very much. We are together as members of an alliance, but each and every one of us has their own internal procedures of doing things. But as I look through all of them, I believe that for literally all, you can apply as a business. There's nobody that says a private person can go through government to apply to an institution. It doesn't work like that. It's either the institution only deals with the public sector. In that case, the public sector is the borrower all the time, or it deals with both the public and private, or it deals with only the private, but not to go through a business person goes through the government to apply for anything. The members are all here. I doubt that that is the case for any one of us. But we will. The benefit of this alliance is that we will have a platform that you can go to, and you see each and every offering of the members. And that is the purpose of the integration we are having now. So there is no ambiguity. And we also want to collaborate to deal with the challenges that continent have been postponing for so many years. I'm sure you know about the news of the Inga Dam that has been there. I think a few of some of the institutions, members of the AAMFI, have come together to try to, instead of going around begging and begging, to start doing something about it. There are a number of things that we talk about that we must do, we don't do. So the institutions, this alliance is intended to lead the way, and maybe when we lead the way, others would help us. So I hope that clarifies, but we understand that from the question you are asking, we need to sensitize the people more about how things are done. One platform will help us do that, so you don't have to be going from one website to the other to find out. You can go to one and you see everything, and you can be directed to the different other websites if you want to learn more about the specific institution. Now, regarding the rating agency issue, okay, now I'll speak from a President Bank perspective, but I believe eventually it's one of those things that also come to the table of this alliance. President Bank is supporting the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, which is actually the institution that the African Union had asked to look into this. I don't know what the last decision was, said we and them, I don't know, but I know that we are supporting them strongly, actually. But let me tell you what we did as far back as, when I became president of our President Bank. We decided that it is institutions like ours that can force the world to recognize an African rating agency. It's not going to be a wish. When we go to Japan to issue debt instruments, even if we have the biggest rating of any rating agency in the world, they tell you go to JCR to be rated. It's the rating of JCR that they use to price your debt. So because of that, we carry the JCR rating. If you go to China, they tell you to go and get rated. They have a rating agency there. But even amongst us, when we want to issue papers in Africa, we go to be rated by Fitch, Moody's, or whoever before we come and issue the paper on the continent. So we are the ones doing ourselves in as far as we are concerned. So we decided that maybe we probably can, the charity begins at home. Let's do an RFP. There are rating agencies already on the continent of Africa. We said, let's do an RFP, select one or two. That's why we looked at it. And we would deliberately take them as to rate us. Not because we need them, but we want them to be to rate us. And we then said to ourselves, okay, if they start rating us, we would then make it mandatory for all the banks that deal with us to be rated by them. And then we will approach our peer institutions, including the African Development Bank, to be rated by this institution. And the final one was that we go to some of the regulators in our countries to tell them that any issuance has to carry this rating. Now, if you do this over the years, it will happen overnight. If any of our institutions go abroad to issue and they say, well, what's your rating? They see that rating plus other ratings we have. Everybody shows that rating. That was what we are thinking. Then gradually people will begin to see it. And when they come to do something on the continent, you ask them to be rated by, we ask them to be, they come to us to borrow money also. People come, instead of showing us this, which is good, they can show us the one they have from other rating agencies. But we say we want this, we want to see our own rating agency, what it says about you. Because there may be a feature we want to put in the rating that the other ones will not put. For example, what is the entity's attitude to the continent, for example, can be something. So that's what we did, and that's why we are being rated by GCR. And I'm aware that TDB is being rated. I don't know who else amongst us. Yeah, okay, you are being rated. So we have actually rated, but this one we did internal rating, we paid for it. We've rated all the banks that work with us. They have GCR rating, which we have in the bank, and they update every year. But it wasn't those institutions that did it. We paid for that. We needed to turn it around and tell them to go and get rated so that they can report them. I know some of them have that. So what then, how did we move from here? Our thinking is that working with the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, we find a way of making a decision on the way forward, and I think the alliance we have can be a very, very, very strong platform of promoting whatever we agree with the African Union and the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, because we are the ones that get rated. We are the ones that use rating. We are the ones that judge credit based on rating. So we are the ones that can make any rating to be accepted or not to be accepted. And you ask a question, oh, how would that be accepted? We have to accept first. Why should we be waiting for somebody to accept before you say it's good? They're not going to accept it. You better know it. It's a long journey. And as you become a source of capital, the story changes. Yes, and gradually we will be. So that is the what I can answer, but I believe that other members may have a word to add to that. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And just to touch on the 2 points, just to give a quick example on the first question. So we were in Kigali at the annual general meeting of shareholders of Shelter Afrique Development Bank. And after the meetings, I was approached by this young lady who look into the of medication, sort of generic medicines, and she was asking me, so does Shelter Africa finance that, right? So obviously, yes, she didn't follow thoroughly the annual meetings, but I said, no, we don't, but we do know some other sister brother institutions in our alliance that can do it. So I referred the young lady. Actually, I went to visit the site as well, so referring them to Afrexim Bank and vice versa. So my brother is in the room here. He's been referring to us from Afrexim Bank in Nigeria, few transactions for affordable housing and urban development, right, which we have been looking at. So what I'm saying is this alliance also helps do that, right? We can really work together. And on the rating, just one word. We get rated by two African institutions, by JCR rating and also Augusto, right? On the bond issuance we did in Nigeria, which has been overly subscribed by more than 60%, was rated by Augusto and GCR, right? So I think these are respectable institutions. We recently just got a rating upgrade as well last month from GCR, and they were recently acquired by Moody's as well. So that shows that they have an international reputation, right, for them to be by like Moody's. Just want to say those couple of examples, and thank you.
Come on the issue of credit rating. Like I indicated earlier on, there is a decision of the Assembly that we should establish an African credit rating agency. The stage where now we are is to operationalize it. So we are working together with the African peer review mechanism, the two banks, the African Export-Import Bank, the African Development Bank, as well as the African Commission, now to come up with a brief on how to really operationalize it and make it start working. We have a number of perspectives. One is for it to really start giving second opinions from the ratings from external sources. Because in quite a level, when there's no capacity to really evaluate the rating. So they should give a second opinion to say, this is in all, this is one issue. Then they should also be undertaking credit rating of borrowers within Africa so that we develop an African capital market. Then above that, they should also work with agencies to come up with the capacity building. So the capital across Africa who really understand the credit rating and other aspects of the market. Then we also need to work with the governments and other to ensure that they collect up-to-date statistics which are used in credit ratings. In quite a number of cases, we have situations that where the credit rating is poor, especially at government level, because the statistics that are available, we are really in high gear, and we hope that by next year, the African Credit Rating Agency would be operational, and a few countries have come to say we are ready to host it. We'll see how it works out when it comes to hosting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question. I think there's a gentleman there with a mic. Go ahead.
Please, my name is Samuel Adoba. I work with TV Africa. I have two quick questions. How does this alliance plan to address the current economic challenges facing in Africa, especially African leaders? You see them rushing to IMF. Is there any hope that one day African leaders will not rush for this help? Thank you.
We'll allow the chair to answer this very.
of our colleagues to answer.
Oh,
Take a couple
okay.
of questions.
Right. Thank you very much. My name is Justice Adubai. I work for the Shinwa News Agency and Africa Commodities Report. I'll start from where the chairman left off. That when we become the source of credit, then the story will change. So I'm looking at how we are going to do that as a collective. Because when I listened to the narrative, perhaps it was just because you wanted to save time, so you didn't go into details. I didn't hear you talk about anything. You talked about infrastructure, but then I did not hear about the core issue of agriculture. Does any of you, because I know about South Africa, they do a lot of housing, etc. Yes, I know Afrexim Bank, you know, the levels they've gone to, yes, but then agriculture, where our bellies are filled. Is there any program that you have to address that? Thank you.
That will be the last question. Then we'll take the round of answers, and then we'll close. After you, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Ebiakure Jasper Eradiri, President, All Africa Association for Small and Medium Enterprises. I think firstly the right thing is to commend the African Union, especially the Department for ETIM, led by the Commissioner here himself, Ambassador Muchanga, and also Professor Rama, and indeed the entire alliance. Now, what exactly do I want to say? What I want to say here is simple. Every year, we talk about traction for SME development. For the last 6 years, we as a leading advocacy body for SMEs in the continent, we've been speaking about an alternative recipe to finance for SMEs. And then we've been engaging the institutions individually, you know, and some on the platform of the African Union, and others will be meeting them individually, like Afrexim Bank, AFDB, and all of that. The template, the present template used by all the banks in Africa, it's colonial. Maybe 200, 300 years ago. It did not capture the interest, the Afrocentric interest of SMEs, of Africans, of the communal and peculiar nature of Africans. And so every year when you dedicate and program funds for SMEs, $10 billion for SMEs, the criteria pushes them to draw down that SMEs are not able to meet them because they're not wired in that manner. And so we've been asking, how can we work out a fashionable understanding to have an Afrocentric model of finance so that the SMEs in Africa, the 100 million SMEs in Africa, will be able to benefit from it. And then that economic prosperity we seek as engendered in Aspiration 1 of the AU Agenda 2063 will be achieved. So that's my question, because we have the big players here, and I know that those decisions can be taken easily because they are here. We've been speaking to your subordinates, but thank God for this alliance. I think that we should give a round of applause to this alliance, you know. And interestingly, Professor Rama is speaking the yearnings of Africans. What is it? What do I mean by that? He's telling you that we need to have our own African ratings, the same African solutions for to African problems. We need to begin to reconsider. That's the vision of Professor Orama and supported by the AU. So what we are even saying on this end is, can we also have micro insurance for SMEs? Is it possible to get this fixed or fitted into your scheme of designs so that the SMEs we're talking about in Africa, which we say are the engine room for economic growth, can actually prosper? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I saw some of our members from the floor nodding very happily at that question. Miriam, do you want to? Anyone that? Of course, I know you are strong on agriculture. You're certainly also strong on SMEs.
Okay, so what I would like to reaffirm that the Alliance as a collective, definitely agriculture and micro. You suggest I go there? Okay, let me go there. Okay. So as the Alliance, we're definitely strong on agriculture and micro SMEs, because those are very critical to the economic development of the nation. So you'll find that certain a number of the banks do lend in terms of agriculture, but I believe your main concern is small scale farmers. Yes. So I'm aware that the Secretariat is definitely going to design a program which will cover those respective areas, but leveraging our expertise, what we are doing is making sure that we can definitely get into the tech space to make sure that we can ease access to insurance, as well as support the farmers within the value chain. For now, you'll find that there's a program which is being run by ZEPRI as part of under the Horn of Africa, where we're making sure that we can provide, for example, drought insurance to the pastoralists. So in terms of small-scale farmers, what you're basically looking at is where they can have access to everything that they need within the value chain. That's not only at the farming stage, but also making sure they have access to market, right? And I believe that will be in the design of the program. And the easiest way to also do that is to work with technology and leverage the existence of schemes such as cooperatives, and what we have found exists in many of the markets in which we operate, whom we call village champions or village leaders or local elders or chairpersons, etc. So that is definitely critical. And I'm aware that some of the institutions are already working with governments in terms of the established national agriculture insurance schemes, not only to make sure that they fund the schemes, but also to ensure that the schemes are sustainable. For example, when the government exits the scheme, can the farmers continue? So that's definitely critical. In definitely micro SMEs, we already have micro insurance, but I believe we have to do a lot more publicity around that area. And we have our big brother here, Africa-Re, who are also very strong in that area. I'm sure the banks also will speak to how they can support the SMEs, but they're very critical. And we do have a lot of data, so a lot of data sieving and data refinement will be key, and also making sure that the criteria that is drawn up can enable access, but what is also very, very important is capacity building. And I'm sure the AU Commissioner can also add to that.
Thank you very much. I think that's very helpful. Does any other member want to perhaps speak a word on that? Africa-Re, you were brought up as a big brother responsible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think yeah, I think she's very right. Individually, a lot of farmers. Like we all know, we cannot overemphasize the role these small and medium-sized enterprises and farmers in particular can play in African economic development. But there has been several problems. I know some of the central banks have supported through commercial banks the funding to farmers. And I give you the example in one country. A lot of the people, or rather, let me say one person, took a loan for agriculture, even though they work as cooperatives, and used that loan to develop real estate. So there was a claim. There was a claim, and of course they put forward their claim. It was during, because of COVID, nobody could go there, some far places, so it was not accessible. And later on, some investigations took place, and it was discovered this happened. What did we resort to? To bring in technology through satellites, where we can now find out where did you say this your farm is? How can we monitor? Because let's not forget, there are some moral hazards in many places. So you need to deal with that. You want to give money to people, and you want them to use the money for what it has been disbursed. So some people do not know how to, there's need for a lot of training also for many of these farmers. So it's been a gradual process. 2 weeks ago, we organized something here in Accra, Ghana, and brought people from the whole continent just to address these areas because they are key. We believe in it, and we are actively going through the index-based method, because getting adjusters to go to look at it takes time. So you want a situation where there is a claim, you get paid immediately once the index is triggered. Because these people, most of them are hand to mouth. Immediately, if it's drought or there's flood, move their own, staying with their relatives. The relatives are very buoyant economically. So we are worsening poverty situation in the continent. So these are some of the things that we are addressing. And as has been mentioned, collectively, we can do a lot more. So all of this will come to the platform to address this situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very Okay, of course, African Solidarity Fund.
Thank you. I just want to reassure my brother that AAMFI already think about SME insurance, because African Solidarity Fund is there for SME, promoter, youth, women. We have to design solution according to the type of company. We work with bank with different criteria. It can be from $10,000 or something. So we are there for SME. AAMFI already think about that solution. We can work together.
Mary, over TDB.
Thank you for the great question. We just mentioned the two things that from a TDB perspective, we've started supporting SME from our Trade and Development Fund. And what we've seen, like Solidarity Fund, what SME require is soft and patient capital. What do I mean by patient capital? Innovative instruments such as guarantees, long-term money, capacity building is required for the SME. But because our limits as TDB, for instance, we start on $10 million, and I'm sure even Afrexim is the same, we've realized that what we are looking from $10 million and above on the continent, depending on the definition of SME, we have more SME on the continent than good. So we've become very innovative at TDB to look at that sector. And of course, like you heard from our colleague, there are people whose mandate is the SME, but we've also come up with innovation of the program to support the SME, and I'm sure AfrExim does the same. And here we have the insurance members that are also going to provide such instruments. So it's all round that require the capital, the insurance, and the capacity building, and the members leverage on each other's strength to support the SMEs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any final words from the high table as we close the press conference? Again, on the yes.
We are receiving significant support from the African Export-Import Bank and the African Development Bank on the development of agro parks across Africa. And these, some of them are going to be designed as regional agro parks. And a pilot is between Zambia and Zimbabwe, and also another one, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. So we are receiving significant financing from the two institutions in the development of agriculture across Africa. Thank you.
Somebody want to take the IMF question?
Saying that African countries are members of the IMF, so they must go and get their rights from the IMF. The only problem we have is that when they go, they must make sure that the way they treat them is the same way they treat an European country when they go to ask, just like Greece, the way they treat Asian countries. That's the only thing I think African countries should demand. They should also demand a change in the quotas. You cannot have a people that control 17% of the population of the world with 5% of the quota of an institution that is supposed to bring stability to the macroeconomics. A part of the world that if you do indeed measure the GDP as we should be a behemoth in terms of economic size. So you cannot tell me, for example, not to cut the forest in DRC, but you assign no value for it when you measure the GDP of DRC. So it's example I used to give is like somebody in a village and they are farming, everybody is farming their land. Then there's one person that has this lush forest, wanted to cut the forest to also farm like everybody to eat. The other say, no, don't cut it because that's what is keeping us alive. Then the same person says, okay, can you give me part of what you make? They say, no, we can't give you. So they want the person to die. That's what he says what it means. So when he dies, then they can keep the forest for themselves. So that is the analogy somebody can make about all of these things. So that is the thing I would say the countries should demand. And because they are members of the IMF, I won't use the word that they run to the IMF because that's why they are members. They have to go there if they have the need to go to the IMF. But they must know that they are members and not vassals. That's all. They go demand their rights as much as they can, negotiate more, try and see if they can negotiate more. And that is why we are very pleased that the AU is a member of the G20, or is it G21 now? I don't know. Because that is the issue of this reform of the global financial architecture that is on the table, so that institutions like that can serve better our people. And it's us that have to demand it, because everybody in the world, we all go there as members. Everybody fights for their own right. We shouldn't expect anybody to cede the space for us. The management of IMF would do what eventually everybody the people who own IMF agree, I believe. Like any management, we all here running institutions. Where the pressure is where you where you go to. So I would should really know this, and I think that's part of the capacity building we have to do, which we are trying to do. Remember, so it's not about running it, because it's either you go there, or if you don't want to go, you quit being a member. So you know you're not. But if you're a member, you should go and get what the membership requires that you get. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Commissioner Muchanga, you still wanted to...
No, it's okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. There is as you said, this is the beginning of a conversation. There is a flyer that we left on your seats, which provides additional information about AAMFI. Again, we'll be very happy to respond to your inquiries. But thank you very much for your time. For the members of the AAMFI Governing Council, we'll say that your meeting will start in 15 minutes by 3:30, just to allow you to stretch your legs a bit, get some fresh air before we start the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much again. I'll see you again next time. For the AAMFI members, we're taking a brief photograph. It is Mr. So I think principals can sit while the kids just stand at the back. Oh, how should we or should we sit here?